I mean,
shorts.
the way you just sat, I was like,
No,
those balls want to come out so bad.
No, but look, the thing about these shorts,
I know, man.
And she knows this, is that like, you know, with Under Armour shorts, it's like that stretchy shit that your balls could just flop out.
Okay.
Like at any moment.
Well,
See,
we're live here with Carter's Balls podcast.
yeah, you know what's weird though is like, I don't have big balls.
My grandma's going to start tuning in any second now.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Grandma, I'm wearing a Stone Cold shirt for this reason.
Dude, stand up and show the
Should I
camera.
get it right here? Look at that.
It's a delay, but it'll
Nice.
Look at that.
That's such a... Let's see the back. Let's see the back. What year is that from, man?
Dude, I don't know.
It says WWF on it, so you know it's old.
Wait, what is the difference between okay, so WWF is the
Go ahead, sorry, man.
yeah, the World Wrestling Federation was WWF, right?
Hold on a second.
I'm
Start.
gonna give you guys a countdown, and then we're gonna start the audio part. So,
All right.
ready?
yeah.
All right. 3, 2.
All right, we're talking about the difference between WWF and WWE. What were you saying that was?
No, the difference between those two?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, why did they have to change the name? It's with the World Wildlife Federation, right?
Foundation.
Foundation.
Right. They actually had the rights to the name first.
Right.
And then WWF was like, we don't care. You're just a wildlife foundation. We don't care. And they finally sued them and won.
No, you see, that's bullshit.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question for you, Carter.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Now listen. Are you ready?
I'm so excited.
All right.
I'm on no sleep.
Well, then for the dozens in attendance and the couple in attendance and the dozen watching around the world, we're going to do Making a Mark.
Making a mark.
Marking. Do you know what that means, making a mark?
It's let's see, when you have a kid with Mark Johnson and you want to call him Mark Johnson Jr.
That's like, yeah, it's and he has sex, you're making a Mark Jr.
And it requires him to spill seed inside of another human.
No.
And
A mark is actually a term for a wrestling fan, and the reason that is it's an old con man term. That, you know, because wrestling, people didn't always know it was fake. They thought it was real, so their fans were called marks. Back in the carny days, they used to take a piece of chalk, and the carnies would mark the people they thought were rich, and those that let all the other carnies know, go after this guy. He's got chalk.
Okay.
He's a mark.
here's the thing, though. When you figured out that wrestling was fake, what went through your body?
Well, the way I found out it was fake was my brother gave me a Stone Cold Stunner, and I was just like, that didn't hurt at all. How does he keep winning all these matches? How does he beat everybody with this move?
So I am wearing what caused you your first huge disappointment
It's,
in
I'm-
adolescence.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yes!
very existential.
I am here to destroy your soul.
I know, I'm feeling it again. That moment I realized wrestling was fake.
But you know, that's the thing about wrestling fans, though, is that whenever I was into it, I was in The Rock,
You were a
Booker
kid.
T, when it was WWF,
Yeah, the Attitude Era.
and what was it?
Everybody was
It
in
was
it.
it was WWF and NWA.
It was WCW.
WCW. Well, I
Which-
said
which-
no. The symbol looked kind of the. No, it didn't.
NWA.
No, it didn't. Yes.
Straight out of Compton.
Easy E and The Rock
Right,
are
yeah.
fighting right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Guys, we are live here with Carter the Power Bryant.
Yeah,
host
baby.
of the Carter Bryant Show in El Dorado.
Yeah.
You had me on the other day, and the reason we have you on today is because I actually took you to your first live wrestling event not too long ago. SmackDown came to North Little Rock, and you showed up about an hour late because you really didn't really want to be there. And this is gonna be a first for this. Like in this show, what I try to do is I try to make a wrestling fan.
Right.
And I don't think I'm gonna get that done in this show because
You're not.
you did not have a good time, did you?
I did not. And here's why. Okay, so the dialogue was too plentiful. There wasn't enough action, but apparently, oh my God, I missed the exciting hour of what is that if that was it, wrestling is the Full Metal Jacket of sports.
Ooh, that's a good.
Like
that's
the
a good
first
comparison.
hour is good, but then the second is why in the fuck am I here?
No, that's not how it always is.
No, that is it.
Well, another thing is they change a lot of things on the fly too, and I don't know if you noticed, but and this has been all over Reddit and Squared Circle, is that place was empty. The Verizon Arena hardly had anyone in it. You have to get a bunch of people off the street called seat fillers, and you have to strategically put them where you need to put them in order to make it look like it was a full house.
Oh, so do they pay the people to
No.
come? They just give them free.
Just give them free tickets. Yeah.
Okay.
And they're really good at it because I actually watched the episode of SmackDown that we went to, and it looked like that place was packed. Man.
So sales weren't good.
No, we got floor seats for $18.
Yeah, it is very cheap for floor seats.
You got in for free.
Yeah, I just walked in. I just acted like I knew what I was doing. If you just do that, all right. If you walk through life and you act like for a couple, a few years ago, I was front row for John Mayer in New Orleans, and I just did it just because I wanted to. If you act like you know what you're doing, you can go a long ways.
Well, it's funny that you say that because when me and Wesley showed up super early and we saw a sign that said box office and we walked in there and before we knew it, we're lost and we're backstage with the wrestlers.
Hell yeah.
For about 3 minutes before somebody saw us and they were like, "What are you doing back here?" And we're like, "Oh, we're supposed to be back here." And immediately got kicked out.
Well, one thing that does work is if you say, "Yeah, Chris told me to be back here," and there's going to be a guy named Chris, in a position of power.
Right.
Like I've seen a Chris in every situation in
Very
life.
true.
I was in the hoodest of hood, D.C., Washington D.C., at the worst subway stop, and on the pole it said "R.I.P. Lil Pookie," "R.I.P. Eastside Chickadilly," "R.I.P. my girl on the East Side."
R.I.P. Chris.
No, and it just said Chris. And then R.I.P. Like, there is a Chris in every... we can go to India, and there's going to be a Chris that's driving us around in a cab or something. I don't know. You're going to find a Chris everywhere.
I think we ended up in a spot where they were doing like Make-A-Wish kids or something.
Okay,
they had them all lined up, and they were trying to get backstage, and they had a list. And this guy's got this list, and he's like, "What's your name?" And someone would say their name, and they'd let them back. And then, "What's your name?" And they say it. And then they got to the third person. They go, "What's your name?" And the guy looks at the list and goes, "That's me right there." And they let him in. And I was like, that is genius. That's exactly what I should have done.
You should have said that.
I know, man, but we had already been kicked out, so it's not like we were going to get back in.
And you know, sometimes the most popular YouTube videos are the people, like the guy that snuck into the Mayweather-McGregor, not only fight, but there was one that snuck into the weigh-in, and he stood right next to Conor. I didn't necessarily sneak in. I just kind of walked, and I just said, "Hey, I'm going in," and they said, "Okay." That was basically it. But, you know, going back to the actual fighting itself, you know, the one thing I will say, and I brought this up.
What did you like about this show? Is that what we're gonna?
Yeah, let me say this. All right, I am a big diversity guy. I think it is an important thing. You will never, especially now, and I'm not going to get political, but in this society, you're not going to see as culturally as a diverse crowd as that.
Right.
Now, it changes when they were just pulling guys off the street and tell you to go, but still, you were there all throughout. There was literally whites, blacks, Mexicans, Asians. I didn't know Asians existed in Little Rock.
Yeah.
Dude, I legitimately saw.
They show up for the wrestling shows.
And
Well, Nakamura was in the main event.
yes,
So,
yes. So the main event was Randy Orton, a white guy,
and Nakamura.
and the Indian guy.
No, well, it was a tag team. So it was Randy Orton and Nakamura versus Jinder Mahal and a Bulgarian guy named Rusev.
Dude, that is fantastic.
Right.
That is, and I'm not just saying that it was fun because it was just those four. That match was actually pretty fun. I know that's the upper echelon as main event, whatever. But to see people do the chants, it had a very English Premier League kind of feel to it.
That's the thing, though, man. There's 4 people involved in every single match. Well, usually in a typical match, you're gonna have one person versus another person. You have the referee, who I think plays a very big role, and then you have the crowd, and they all play a part of the show, and it has different acts to it. Each match has different parts to a match. You have the shine, the heat, the comeback, the finishes, the false finishes, stuff like that. Like it's the same almost every single show, but it's different.
Okay, let me make one point about wrestling. The one thing it does a great job of is identifying with what it is. It has a strong identity. You know what kind of entertainment you are getting yourself into. You know what you're going to be a part of. And that matters. You know, I've read a lot of comedy books. We're all stand-ups in this room. And you see this. When you go see a comic, if you go see Tracy Morgan, you want to see the vile, nasty stuff. If you want to see Jerry, you want the great observational stuff. Wrestling, you know what you're getting. You know the product. the one thing I like about wrestling compared to other combat sports is that product is always going to be consistent. It's going to be an over-the-top.
It's debatable.
No,
It was a poopy show that we went to, honestly, to tell the truth.
yeah, okay, but here's the
It's
thing.
not going to be like WrestleMania every single night.
But to a casual fan,
Okay.
it is consistent. I'm a casual boxing fan.
Right.
It's not consistent. It's terrible.
It is.
Boxing is more wrestling than it is boxing now. Yes, it is.
Well, I mean, this last McGregor Mayweather fight, I can see that because
No.
that was definitely that was just a circus show. It really was. It was amazing. If anyone that didn't see it, do yourself a favor and watch it because it was actually a really good fight. It was a great boxing match.
But on top of that, and this is what has to do with wrestling, is that apparently we're going to be in for the greatest boxing matchup that we've had in years. Canelo versus Triple G. We're all ready to go to see this fight. But the one thing that I found interesting was before that fight happened, Canelo fought some other scrub, like an absolute awful boxer that they knew he would beat. And you want to know who was there ringside? Canelo. And you want to know what Canelo did after the fight? With all these famous lights and graphics,
Got into the ring.
got into the ring,
That
and
is
they
wrestling.
decided that is a wrestling
That is-
thing
that
if
is
I've ever
wrestling,
seen it.
yeah.
And if you need to do that to sell your sport, that is more wrestling than what it is boxing.
You don't need to, but it helps.
No, you need to, because boxing is in a situation right now where they don't know who their audience is.
Boxing's a dead sport. MMA is 1,000 times better than boxing, in my opinion.
We have evolved to the point where mixed martial arts is so much better than boxing. It is not even close. It is shorter. It is quicker. You can't really dodge and do the dip, dive, shoulder rub. You can't just tie somebody up. It is so much better.
So many facets of the game that you have to, like, oh, I'm a great boxer. Well, I'm a great wrestler. Well, you're going to have to learn how to wrestle in order to fight me.
And David Frederick Kleitch III of Eastside Chickadilly, Nottingham. Here's the thing I love about wrestling
That is not my name.
is that it is over the top, and it knows it is.
Yeah.
It knows it's scripted. It knows this. And the fact that they have been who they are for so long, the product is still the same. Is the star power the same? No. I mean, what would you say? Let's say Kane. Okay, Kane for this instance. If he was wrestling now, he would be what? The first or second?
He actually still is wrestling. No,
Okay,
he doesn't show up as much.
Yeah, but he would, in his prime, he would probably be the most popular current wrestler, right?
Kane?
Yeah.
No, Undertaker was more popular. I would say Undertaker would be a good...
Yes, but I'm saying if either one of those guys was in this era, because in their era, they weren't what? They weren't in the top 5 in their era, right?
Yeah, debatable. I mean, they're both
Debatable.
champions.
Yeah, but I think now, if they were in their prime, if there wasn't all the nostalgia surrounding them, they would be the biggest stars. I mean, those guys were ginormous stars, but they weren't The Rock, they weren't Stone Cold, they weren't Goldberg. So
Makes sense.
I understand that wrestling isn't what it once was. I don't think it'll ever be as popular as it was whenever
Right.
in recess we would be fighting over.
Once again, debatable. I mean, it's gotten a lot better. It really has.
So
They're bringing in, they're getting rid of, because there for the longest time, they did have Kane, and they did have Undertaker, and they did have all these great wrestlers from 20 years ago that they still had wrestling and still at the top of the card. And you had all these great young wrestlers coming up that they just buried. They would just beat them every single time. And then
so there's more variance now.
yes. Yeah. Because because a lot of people think that wrestling is just WWE.
Okay.
It's not. There's New Japan. There's Ring of Honor. There's a lot of indie organizations that put on great shows.
So here's where we are with wrestling. All right. Now tell me if I'm wrong. All right. So you're a diehard wrestling fan,
Diehard,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So you like all these guys that no one's ever heard of.
Right.
Okay. And everyone in that arena is more or less, I would say probably 60% that was there is probably as big a wrestling fan as you are.
I would say 60%, well, not 60%, but I would say at least 30% are kids.
Okay.
So that's the only product they really can watch, because I think that's the only one that's really marketed towards family, family-friendly stuff.
So
All the other wrestling is going to be is more adult-themed. It's more brutal, It's strong style is a type of wrestling that you see more often where, the move is where I'm going to kick you in the chest. All right, well, how are we going to make that look like a wrestling move? well, I'm going to kick you in the chest. And then they literally, like, that's the thing. They're doing these really hard moves, but still a kick in the chest isn't going to kill you. Kick in the chest isn't going to injure you. They do more of that. Or, they're getting really good at moves to the head. They'll have somebody with a clapper, and they'll clap it, and it looks, man, it's hard not to react to it because it looks like somebody just got their head clean taken off.
One thing I found interesting though is we're in this point. Okay, I'm a big SEC football fan.
Uh-huh.
You wouldn't know that because I'm
Right.
sitting here right now instead of at the Arkansas game with the sideline pass, which I have. I'm just not there because I love you so much.
Ooh,
Ugh.
Carter the power with this sideline
I
passes.
know, all right? But here's the thing, all right? The one thing that college football is in is exactly where we once were, is that, big bad Alabama. You know what big bad Alabama does, though? It draws in the casual college football fan
Right.
come national championship time because there's a narrative, there's a story, there's the legendary Nick Saban, can they fall? Us diehards want more variance. We want to see
Yeah.
an Auburn, or we want to see a Wisconsin one day.
Yeah, but you also got to realize that Alabama would be John Cena of the WWE, but you've got these smaller schools, like let's say North Dakota State, who's a powerhouse, but they're in a smaller division. They're still a fun team to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not going to get a casual fan to watch it. That's what the indie wrestlings are like. You got a wrestler right now by the name of Yushin Okada, and he's the #1 wrestler in the world. You've never heard of him, have you?
No.
He's amazing. He's best dropkick I've ever seen. He's really good at getting the crowd. It's hard to watch him and not get invested in the fight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But he doesn't have a narrative. He doesn't.
Well, he doesn't speak English, so it's tough for him to get a narrative for me and you. But
Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't have pull. So that's the thing. That's the one thing that wrestling had. I mean, dude, Stone Cold was a cultural icon. I mean, and it might just. I might be wrong. It might just be the fact
it's
that
a fluke, though, man. Like Stone Cold was supposed to be a bad guy. He was doing everything he could to be a bad guy. He wanted everyone to boo him, but he did it in such a way where you couldn't help be like, dude, this dude's a badass. This guy is awesome. He's drinking beer. He's slapping his boss in the face. He's not in shape. He doesn't look like a wrestler. He's just wearing black trunks with black shoes. He doesn't. He comes out with a vest. That's it.
But do you enjoy wrestling more now that you know that it's fake more than you were?
Absolutely.
You enjoy it more now.
There's something about here's two grown men going out in front of thousands of people every night, not just Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. They do house shows every single night.
Okay.
In front of thousands of people, and they pretend fight. And they do it in such a way that you can't help but get invested in it. You can't help but go like, oh, he just hit him with a chair, man. Like that looks, that slimy a-hole. Like
So you see, for me,
but also on that, like then they go backstage and they hang out. And they talk to each other and they come up with all these different ideas. There's just something about the backstage camaraderie that I think's crazy, because they can go out there and have the most brutal match ever, and it seems like these two guys hate each other, but as soon as they go backstage, if they had a good match, they're not gonna be able to help but hug each other and just praise each other and just, oh, you're so awesome, man, thank you so much for that. And,
so how much money do you lose when you lose?
you get paid the exact same, no matter what.
Everyone gets paid the same.
Yeah, the champion gets same pay. Like if I started today and they put me on a base pay, which probably would be around $20,000 a year.
Okay.
And I won the championship the very first day. It's not like I get a bonus for being the champion. What the championship would be like winning an Oscar. Like, how much money do you get for winning an Oscar? That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just a way of the company showing thank you for what you do.
Yeah, it does make speaking engagements and other things a lot easier.
True. Yeah.
The one thing I'll say though is, I say that I didn't enjoy myself, but I enjoyed the experience. I was with two of my great friends who you were the one that convinced me to go. I had no idea what's going on.
But we were drunk too.
Yeah.
We were a little tipsy, and I remember at one point I just wanted to make everybody around me laugh. So there was a bad guy in the ring cutting a promo, and he was like, y'all, you inbred dummies. And I'd be like, yeah, we are inbred dummies. He's got a point, everybody. Look at us. And now it's just it's just fun to me. I mean, and I'm sure there's other people in the crowds that do that same thing too. In fact, every now and then you'll hear this really interesting chant that comes up. I think one was "This is awesome," where they'll just be like, "This is awesome," clap, 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 clap. That just came up one day because one guy was watching a match and was in the crowd and thought the match was awesome, started chanting it, and before you know it, you got 20 other thousand people joining in.
Who does? Yes! Yes!
Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan.
And you said you didn't like him, though. Who said he didn't like him? Nah, it might have not been you.
No, Daniel Bryan is a Michigan State fan or something like that.
No, that's not true. He's actually from Seattle. He's from Aberdeen, Washington.
Who's a Michigan State fan?
No, there was a Michigan State player that one day after they won a bowl game. Who'd they beat? It was a big bowl game.
Is it?
Did they beat Alabama? No.
No, they did beat Ohio State in Ohio State.
Okay,
They got their ass kicked.
Is that for the Paul Bunyan? They got a trophy for whatever it was.
That was, I don't know.
Anyway, they came out and the football team came out during a basketball game, and they let their captain give a speech, and the captain was a huge wrestling fan. So he's just like, on the count of 3, everybody chant yes. And watch this video because it is insane. Every single person in that arena is going yes, and they're moving their hands in a way, and it looks so awesome. But I think, who's the motivational speaker? Tony Robbins?
Tony Robbins.
I think he's the one that came up with that.
Really?
Yes, and then there was a UFC fighter by the name of Diego Sanchez that he used to do that when he came out. He would just be like, yes, yes. And Daniel Bryan took it, and he's like, I'm going to start doing that as a wrestler. And that got over. That got, like, everybody started enjoying it.
Okay, so what's the wrestling tag team fantasy match that I ask you about every day?
Yes, and for anybody that's a wrestling fan, tell me how asinine this question is that he asked me. He goes, who would win in a match between a tag team match of Goldberg and The Rock versus Stone Cold? No, I'm sorry, I messed that up again.
I don't remember.
It just made me so mad.
Mark, do you remember? It was just four legends.
It was The Rock and DDP. No, that's not right either.
I said Triple H, maybe. I don't know.
It was it was The Rock and Goldberg. The Rock and DDP versus Goldberg and Stone Cold.
Yes.
I think is what it was. And I was go, first of all, that match would never happen.
Why?
Because that's a WWE guy and a WCW guy versus a WWE guy and a WCW guy. Why wouldn't you have it the WCW guys versus the WWE guys? I get Stone Cold and The Rock. I'm sorry, Stone Cold and Goldberg.
What idiot?
Because they wear the same outfit.
Like that?
They both have goatees and everything. But that match would never happen. I can't answer that question, man. That's just ridiculous. That'd be like, who would win in a boxing match between...
Why is it so hard to
all right, answer this question then. Who would win in a boxing match between Floyd Mayweather and Muhammad Ali?
Okay, are they they're not in the same weight class.
There you go. Well, there you go.
But
Answer the question.
All 4 of those wrestlers are in the same weight class, and it's fake.
Doesn't matter.
Shit.
Doesn't matter.
You can do it. That's 2 completely...
It'd be like, who would be the better couple singing?
And Muhammad Ali would beat the shit out of Floyd Mayweather. I don't care what anyone.
Who's the stronger couple? Tim McGraw and Renee Zellweger, or Keith Urban and Faith Hill? Who's better? Who would make prettier babies? You're like, I can't answer that question because Tim McGraw is married to Faith Hill.
No, yes, I would gladly answer that question. I will gladly. That is a great one. It's Tim McGraw and Renee Zellweger. No, it's Nicole Kidman. I thought that.
I don't know. Who cares?
No, it is. Yeah, because so that would be. God, McGraw's ugly as shit. So I would go with.
You watch your mouth. He's an Indian outlaw.
Cherokee and Choctaw. Yeah, okay, can I say something? Can I say something about that? All right. The fact that
you cannot. We're not. Are you going to talk about Tim McGraw now on my wrestling podcast?
Yes, because the fact that I'm telling you, if Faith Hill's ass was right here, right now, I would totally DDP then corporate elbow her for canceling that damn show in Little Rock.
Dude, you don't know. Stop it.
You don't know. You don't know how many angry calls. Hey, Carter!
You don't know how many angry tweets I'm going to get about this. You can't DDP somebody.
I will DDP.
DDP is a person.
Hill, I will
and
diamond.
The corporate elbow. The people's elbow.
What is this? What is this move called?
The Rockefeller. No, I'm joking. It's called the diamond. The diamond cutter, I guess.
Yes. Okay. I would, Faith Hill, if you're listening to this right now, I would do that for you to say, oh my God, my voice is sore. I'm not going to come to country ass Little Rock where people for the entire year were waiting to see your ass in concert. My goodness, it sold out in like 2 seconds. Every day people were calling our station. Hey, did you give out the Tim and Faith tickets?
Did they come? Did they already show up and go, or show up?
No, they didn't perform at the show.
They did not.
They did not. And they performed 2 nights later in Nashville because Faith said, "Oh, my voice is so hoarse.
Is that why they canceled on our
My
podcast?
voice is so hoarse.
Mark?
I can't do." Yes, that is it. Mark, am I wrong? He doesn't know.
So let's get back to wrestling real quick.
Faith Hill, I will DDP your ass when I see you.
Stop it with DDT her.
Diamond
Go ahead and finish it.
Dallas
One more.
Page.
Nice, dude.
Diamond Dallas Page.
Give yourself a self high five for that. Self high five. Oh, not 2, man. You're not just being.
No. Okay.
There you go. Stop it.
Yes. All right, let's talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, one thing I was gonna say. I think you would have enjoyed this more if you would have showed up on time. They've gotten rid of the pyros at the wrestling shows.
Oh, like the
Fireworks.
Okay.
You know, some wrestlers like Kane has like probably the most infamous pyro of all time, where the fire would shoot up out of the ring post. And
Okay.
everything. They got rid of those, and I hate it, man. That's such a great part of the live show. They did it to cut down on money, but I don't know if you noticed the ring post has the LED lights on it now. The rampway, which we couldn't see because we were on the floor, that all has LED lights on it. The production value is amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
Man, I just wish they would bring that back. And I felt like if you would have seen that, especially at the beginning of the shows, they'd be like, well, "Welcome to SmackDown Live," and then it'd just be like, that was so awesome, man.
Can I mention something really quickly?
Yeah.
Do they still do cage matches?
Yeah.
God, I love those.
Yeah, I don't know if they do. I don't know if they would be able to do one in Verizon because they have to suspend it above the ring, and I don't think Verizon's tall enough to put a ring in there. So I could be wrong. They could be wrong.
Who did the famous, really high jump off the cage?
That'd be the Hell in a Cell. We actually talked about that on our first episode. That was the '97 Undertaker versus Mankind.
That's right, Mankind.
Mankind got thrown off the top of the cage,
Oh, so beautiful.
and he beefed it so hard when he hit the ground. Oh,
What do you
man.
mean beefed it?
He just hit the ground really hard. That's just what I say when somebody falls down.
And was he seriously hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Like that was.
But that was before the match even started. So
really?
they stretcher him out. Yeah. So what happens is Mankind comes out first. And instead of going inside the cage, he climbed. First of all, I've got to specify here. There's a difference between a cage match and a Hell in a Cell match. Cage, you start in. There's no top of the cage, and usually the rule is the first person to get out wins.
Okay.
Now, Hell in a Cell does have a top, and it's just a regular match inside of a chain link fence cage.
Okay.
So this was, I think, the second Hell in a Cell of all time. The first one, they never even left the cage. They started it. It was Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. So this one starts off with Mankind coming out, and instead of getting in the cage, he just climbs to the top, just sits down. I think he throws a chair up there too. And so Undertaker comes out, follows him up there. They start fighting, a little bit back and forth, and then Undertaker throws him off. They get the stretcher out. They start to take him back. Undertaker is on top of the cage. It's funny because in order to stretcher him out, they had to raise the cage up, and Undertaker was still on top of it. So they raise it up. They start stretching him out. Mankind's like, no, thank you. I'm going to finish this match. Climbs back on top of the cage. They start fighting again, and then he choke slams him on the top, and it breaks it, and he falls from the top of the cage into the ring.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And at this time, he's knocked unconscious. Not only is he knocked unconscious, but a tooth gets knocked out of his head and out through his nose.
See, that's just. I'll never see that again.
Then they fight for about 10 more minutes. Then Mankind thinks it's a good idea to get some tacks out.
Wow.
Lay him out on the ground. Gets choke slammed through the tacks.
That's probably like the most awesome story I've ever heard.
Yeah, they don't really allow that anymore. Chris Benoit ruined that for everybody.
Why?
He had CTE and murdered his family.
Oh, okay. And he got it. People think he got it from the head trauma.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now they're like, no more getting thrown off Hell in a Cells. No more chair shots to the head. No more. A lot of crazy stuff. No more. They used to. So you know when wrestlers bleed, right? What they do is they take a razor blade, they cut themselves.
Okay.
It's called gigging, and Chris Benoit used to say, "Oh, we'll just hardway it." And they're like, "What's that mean?" He's like, "You got to hit me with that chair hard enough to bust me open." So they don't allow him to do that anymore.
Yeah. Because that endangers the product.
Right.
You know, but I have to say though, like that I do remember that match. I remember watching that match with my dad.
Yeah, it's one of the most infamous matches of all time.
Yeah, and I was like, so if I remember correctly, that was one of the matches that made me really believe that it was real.
Yeah.
And
Well, that was real. I mean,
yeah,
to some extent. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, it was a scripted, predetermined outcome. And
how
everything
far
like
was
that.
the fall? Probably 10.
I think we looked this up. The cage was 18 feet tall.
God, dude, really?
Yeah, and from the angle that he threw him, it was a 22-foot fall.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I have a lot of respect for wrestlers. I do. It's just not for me. It's not for me. And
I'm here. It's not for everybody. So the
So-
show is called Making a Mark. I'm trying to make more fans, but there was, especially about 10 years ago, there was a time where it was just garbage. In fact, so that like now at WrestleManias, they'll have about 90,000 people at the show. They'll sell out.
I've had a beer. I want to comment on it. Sorry.
They'll show some. They'll sell out like football stadiums and stuff like that.
Right.
There was a time where at WrestleMania they were only getting like 17,000 people. They were selling out places like Allstate Arena, which like is the other venue in Chicago. It's not what's it called, the United Center.
yeah,
It's not the
footballs,
United. It's
yeah.
the smaller one that's next to a Target. Like that was WrestleMania one year. It was just the product was so bad, and it's starting to get a little bit better. They're letting these younger wrestlers that a lot of people have never heard of, but they should because they put on great shows and they're really athletic. I make Mark watch this match all the time. It's Will Ospreay versus Ricochet. It takes place in Japan, and a lot of people shit on it because they're like, "Ah, it's just glorified gymnastics." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what people want to see, though, man. That's like really fun to watch them do all those flippy stuffs." And
glorified gymnastics.
but still, man, do you remember the cruiserweights by any chance
Yeah, I
in
do.
WCW?
Yeah,
Those were the funnest people to watch, man.
yeah, because they fly around.
Exactly.
So answer this for me: Is Hulk Hogan like known as the greatest wrestler of all time?
It's debatable. I can't stand him. I think he was an amazing charisma, and he was obviously really good at getting over and making people like him. But as far as like wrestler, there's nothing fun about scoop slams and leg drops to me. I think that stuff's lame.
Is he the most famous wrestler of all time?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
So would you say? All right,
Him and Stone Cold. Stone Cold is the biggest draw of all time.
really?
Yeah, he made the most money he made the most money for the company because people were buying pay-per-views, people were buying tickets to go see him, people were buying merchandise, obviously, because you're still
Yeah,
wearing
I'm
it. today.
still wearing mine. Yeah, yeah.
Hulk Hogan was big, but I mean, a lot of people can say The Rock too.
Yeah, he's probably the most. Hulk
Famous.
Hogan's probably the most. Well, The Rock is the most famous.
But The Rock did exactly what Hulk Hogan did, except when he went to movies, he was successful at it.
Right.
That's where Hulk Hogan was not.
You know what fascinates me about The Rock is that I just love watching him. I just do.
Yeah,
I can't get enough of
He's
him.
an amazing personality. He's a second generation wrestler, so he grew up.
I didn't know that.
Backstage. Yeah, his dad was Rocky Johnson, and then his grandfather, I think, was Grand Chief Maivia. So he's third generation. He grew up in it, man.
All right. Shout out to Ric Flair though.
Woo! Yeah,
Woo!
you missed his daughter wrestle, man. That was a big moment. She showed up for the dark match afterwards, and
Yeah, I had to go
it's
to.
a good sign because she was gone while he was in the hospital. So to see her come back, you're like, okay, he must be doing better. From what I hear, he's doing physical therapy right now, so
Good.
he won't be back in the ring anytime. But
Well, yeah, I had to go tell some hashtag jokes, which we have to tonight. I don't want to though. I want to keep going.
yeah, we got to go to a barber shop tonight. Any plugs you want to make, man? We're gonna wrap this up.
Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I respond to everything. That's at Carter the Power.
Great.
It's universal. It's my thing on everything. Gmail, all that stuff. If you're an LSU football fan, it's our new project with the SEC Country.
Nope.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not letting you plug this.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Ellis who?
LSU? LSU? Yeah. That's SEC Country LSU. I do the Carter Bryant show, do
And
the
El
Hit Music
Dorado.
show in the middays. Doing a lot more videos and that kind of stuff on all the social media. So,
Stand-up comedian, personality, radio personality, and all-around great guy, Stone Cold Steve Austin fan, Carter the Power.
but there's more I want to get into with this. This better not be the only time I get on.
Yeah. We'll get you back on, man. Real
Then
soon.
I gotta do Mark Johnson's show.
Part one.
We'll make
Part
this a
one.
part one, man. We'll bring you back on. For sure.
I'm like,
Half an hour, and I know that I'm off mic, but
We'll have Wesley. We'll have Wesley on as well. Wesley couldn't be here today. He was doing a show somewhere else. So
yeah, I'll be the Bo Burnham to your, come on, Pete Holmes.
I would say T.J. Miller to Pete Holmes.
That's true.
There you go.
TJ's a better
Those
guess.
two people are.
But Bo Burnham's a good guest.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right.
So yeah, you guys make sure and check out the Flagship podcast. What show are you talking about?
what's your stuff?
Make sure to follow me on Twitter at DKleitch. That's DKleitch. Wesley Kleitch 22 is his. I just got an Instagram, which we posted pictures of the show we were at. Follow me on Instagram. That's also going to be at DKleitch.
You do have Insta. Let me see if I can follow you.
Wesley's is Wesley Paul 22 on Instagram.
Yeah, follow him
Yep.
because he's better.
Make sure and like us on Professional Pirate Media on Facebook. And check out the other podcasts, Flagship and Death Metal Dicks. Oh, the last episode of Death Metal Dicks was so good. And,
Bum.
and we'll be doing a crossover episode coming up here soon. We were supposed to do it this one, but mine and Chris's schedules have been a little not working together. But we'll get it on real soon. We're going to do that Chris Benoit episode, so it's going to be really fun.
Can you ask him if he's a Pelicans fan? I need to know.
Pelicans, the New
Yeah,
Orleans
yeah,
Pelicans?
that's how he and I.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Great. All right, man. Thanks for coming on.
yeah. Go
Thanks for
Tigers.
listening, everybody.